As an international nurse, there are things that I wish I knew prior to coming to working abroad. So when you're preparing to move to US, you spend so much time preparing for the exam or looking for your papers to be evaluated or going through the process or looking for the agency. But there are things that nobody talks about, like the culture shock, the loneliness, how to celebrate your wins. So for today, we're going to look at 5 things that I wish someone whispered into my ears as I was preparing to come that would have made the journey of when I came here to be more beautiful and for me to even enjoy the process better. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but it would have been better if I knew the 5 things. So I'm not going to be telling you things that I've read. It's things that I experienced or things that I've seen with my friends that I know if someone had whispered to them, they would be successful. So what are these 5 things that I wish someone had told me? So one of the things that I really see is if you're coming abroad, it's really important for you to be able to drive. Sometimes when we are back home, you may not necessarily have the privilege of having a car because the public transport might be what you're using. So you may not have a car to drive you around, or it may not be necessary for you to drive. But like here in the US, the public transport is not very reliable. So you might want to have your driving license. Even if you don't have a car, I would advise anybody who is preparing to come to US to always do their driving lessons. Make sure that you can drive, because most of the time even kids here start driving by the time they're 16 years, because a car is not a luxury, it's a necessary thing for you to be able to go to work at 6:45. That's the time you're reporting to work. That means you left your house at 5:30 or 5:15 or whatever, depending on how far you were. So the best thing is for you to make sure that by the time you leave your country that you've done your driving. I know that you might think that maybe because the driving, like for us, we used to sit on the left side. As long as you know how to drive, it's very easy for you to come here and adjust. But if you come here and you haven't done driving and you're trying to start the work and you're trying to understand the system, you're trying to get your career moving, you're trying to adjust with the family, and you do not have a driver's license, so you're still trying to do classes for driving, it's really difficult. So one of the things that I always tell every nurse, that if you're preparing to work abroad, make sure that you start studying, start trying to drive, go to that driving school, make sure that you have a driver's license, because it's gonna really help you. So that's one thing that I always wish that someone whispers to anyone who is trying to come to US or trying to go to Canada or trying to go to Australia. It's really an important component. Second thing that I really feel that it's so important for everybody who is coming, especially to US, is to understand is how the retirement system works. Back at home, in my country, I'm going to use, like for example, in Kenya, if you are employed, your employer automatically gives you pension. And then you don't have to contribute anything. So as long as you have employment, then automatically your retirement is taken care of. When you come here, then you have to be proactive in your retirement. You will be told 401k, 456, Roth IRA, whichever name they use. At the end of the day, it is you as a person that you really need to register or enroll yourself into the retirement fund. And there are so many benefits that go with it, but you've got to understand it. If there is something that is so key, because I can tell you, yes, I was given that information, but nobody really insisted. For me, I thought it was a nice to do something, but it is one of the key things that is really important for you to understand. Me as a nurse, how am I catering for my retirement? Because you realize by the time you come into this country, most of us are either in our late 20s, 30s, or even 40s, for example. So if you don't think about your retirement and you left your country and maybe you picked up start here, so you really need to be able to enroll. And in fact, if you're not taking care of your 401k or 456, whatever name is being given, that means you're leaving money on the table, because in reality, most of the time, your employers gives you some percentage or matches some percentage to what you're contributing. So if you're not contributing anything, which is the case that happened, I never contributed in my first 3 years that I was in this country. It's only after I finished my contract and I changed my employer that when I went to a different job, I realized about the 401k, I understood the system, they took the time to teach me, and that's the time I enrolled. So if I had known, those were 3 years that I just left money on the table. So if you're planning to relocate, please try to understand the system, understand how the medical system works, how is the retirement, how is the medical insurance. Those are key components. So as much as you're trying to understand the job itself, the nursing itself, it's very important for you to really understand the retirement and the medical insurance. When they talk about deductibles, what is the deductible, how much are you covered, how much can you contribute when you pay your premium, how much is it catering for it, and what are some of the benefits? Do you have life insurance? What are some of those things that you can think about it? Because if you think about it, you've come into this country, if you get sick or something happens, if you don't go to work, then you want to be paid. So you need to know, do I have a short-term disability? Do I have a long-term disability? So it's really important for you to try and understand the system. So the second thing that I really thought was so important that I wish someone whispered to me, as much as yes, I'll try to understand the system for me to take care of my patients, I also need to start taking care of myself. Charity starts from home. So if I don't take care of myself, then how am I able to really take care of someone else? Because if I become sick and I don't have a good medical insurance, then there is a problem. So it's really important for you as an international nurse to understand the medical insurance that you're getting, the pension that you're getting. So the third thing that I wish someone whispered into my ears is the importance of just the culture shock. Things are really different. That there are different things that are so different. For example, you may not even know the neighbor that is living on your right or on your left, or your kids may not necessarily have to play with the neighbor that lives on your right or your left. The culture is very different. Unlike at home where it's automatic that kids go outside and they play with each other, that if the kids are playing, you really have to sit out and really watch them in this country. So those are little things that sometimes it's really important for someone to teach you or someone to tell you that it's really important for you to know that the culture is different. Something that was so different also, it's at workplace. You might find that even the language is a little bit different. One, it's the first time everybody will be telling you, oh, you have an accent, you might have to change some words here and there. You might say a word and people don't even understand what you're saying. For example, back home, we used to say a lift to mean elevators. So when you come here and you're talking about a lift, when they talk about lift, they're thinking about the lift that we use to lift patients from one bed to another or to help a patient mobility. While for us, a lift was the elevator. So you might say something and people don't understand what you're saying. Something else was at home, we used to say we're taking a patient to theater. When you say here you're taking patient to theater, everybody's like, are you taking them to the movies? And you're like, or. So it's just little things that once you get used to it, you might want to do ECG, which is what we used to say in Kenya. When you say you want to do ECG, it's not wrong. It's just that those are not the common words they use. Everybody has to think, what are you really saying? But once you get used and you realize that they call it EKG, then it becomes much easier. So they're just little things. You might find that they call it trash can, while in Kenya we used to say dustbin. So it's just little things that at the end of the day, relating to language, relating to the culture of the way things are done, the dressing, you might find the dressing is very different during summer, and like the dressing that is during spring, and like the dressing that is during fall. And it's so much different in terms of the material of the clothes, the colors that are worn, and even the texture of the clothes. So it just many little things that I wish I knew. So like I packed so much bags coming here, yet in reality some of those clothes I had to donate them because in reality they may not necessarily be the weather may not really allow you to use those clothes. So it's really those things that in reality I didn't have to carry, that maybe I would have carried more souvenirs or things that I treasure instead of just carrying like some of the clothes that I was using there. Because things can be a little different. Weather here can be extreme. When it's cold, it's really cold. When it's warm, it's really warm. And then sometimes even people don't prepare you in terms of, like, don't just look at the weather through the window, because back home we never really looked at the temperatures for the weather. Once you looked outside and you saw it was sunny, it just was sunny and comfortable, and off you go. Here you can look outside, it looks sunny, but if you truly do not look at the temperature, you might go outside and it's really, really cold. So I wish someone really prepared me on how extreme the weather can be. And it was the same case like when I went to Canada for studies. You will find the weather is such a big thing. And the culture is so different. There are so many little things that you truly have to know. So that was the third thing that I wish someone prepared me for, the culture shock. The fourth thing that I wish someone really prepared me is the importance of budget. I know. Why am I talking about that? Because remember, back at home, we are paid once a month. So you come in this country, if you're under an agency, you might be paid every 2 weeks or every week. But you'll find like some of like the big bills, like the mortgage and things, might be coming at the end of the month, or you can still be able to schedule them to fall based on when you're receiving your money. But nobody really tells you those things. And also one other thing that I wish I knew is, don't convert the money to the currency that you are used in your country. So don't go to the grocery store and you're trying to buy bread and you're trying to convert it and you're thinking, I'm buying so expensive for bread. If you do that, then you will never buy anything. To be honest, like when I was a student in Canada, I never even really bought a lot of clothes or anything, because every time I went to buy, and I'm a student, I would do the conversion and I'm like, goodness, clothes are so much cheaper back home. But in reality, the conversion, if you do conversion, then you're gonna limit what you can do and you're gonna be frustrated because you're being paid in dollars. You're really being paid in the currency that you're currently buying things with. So don't frustrate yourself trying to calculate it back to your currency, because if you think about it in Kenya terms, $1 is equals to 130 shillings. So if you do the conversion, then you're gonna be frustrated because you'll be looking at the salt and you're thinking, oh gosh, am I buying the salt this much? So it's really important for you to just sit down, do a budget, do everything using dollars, and sit to your budget. Realize that you have more bills than you used to have back home. Here you will have to pay insurance every month. We used to pay insurance per year. So if it's, you have to pay taxes for your car, things are really different. So it's just doing a budget and sticking to the budget. You might realize, like, so the last thing that I wish someone really prepared me is the importance of a community. It's really important for you to identify a village, a community of people that you truly can be able to sit down and talk to them and really release some stress. Because when you come into this country, you will be tempted to just pick extra shift, to keep running around, put yourself so much pressure. But in reality, we are human beings, we need interactions. So it's really important for you to also meet with other people and find out what are some of the things, because they will tell you how they survived, some of the things that you can be able to take advantage of, some of the benefits that are there. And it's also important to interact with the natives in the country, because then when you do, you realize there are so many things that you can learn from them. So it's really important for you to look for genuine friendship. It took me a while. It took me almost a year once I was in this country. It was one time that we were taking our kids and we went to this place and I saw someone with a bracelet, and it was a Kenyan bracelet, and I was so happy to meet a fellow Kenyans, and from there I was able to meet many more Kenyans. So just identify, like even before, prior to coming, there are so many like WhatsApp or Facebook groups that have international nurses, and like I have a lot of international nurses contacts. So it's really important for nurses to identify communities or village or people, genuine friendship, because once you have people that you can be able to share with, you might be so stressed and thinking things are so bad. It does get better. By the time you finish your 6 months, you will start enjoying, and there are so many beneficial things to be an international nurse. So to look for a community, look for a village, and truly Nursing Troop is one of them. So if you're preparing to come to US, I would really tell you, truly it's a beautiful journey. It's a process. Just learn to enjoy. Just learn to enjoy your wins. Take every day at a time. And the guys, the nurses who have been international nurses for a long time, if you've been in US for more than 2 or 3 years, or maybe Canada, Australia, you can share your experiences. What are 5 things that if you were to speak to the younger you before you came to that country, what would you tell yourself? Or what is it that really resonated with you among the 5 things that I said? And remember, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And